big thanks to everyone at Dorney Park because they saved my life. I had to be resuscitated. If it wasn't for that lifeguard knowing what to do at that moment, I wouldn't be here, and I would be one of the statistics that we're talking about today. So.
Today's guest is a 4-time Olympic medalist and the first Black swimmer to hold a world record. After nearly drowning as a kid, he turned fear into fuel and now leads the charge for water safety and access in underserved communities. Of course, it is Water Safety Month starting today, and there's no better time to talk about why swimming isn't just a sport, it is survival. Cullen Jones, welcome to the Fumble. Thank you so much for coming on with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, this is a privilege for me, man. You know, Samaria is from Georgia. I'm from New Jersey, a little small place that not a lot of people know called Irvington, New Jersey. You know, it's the home of legends. So Cullen being from Irvington, New Jersey, like having this conversation in all seriousness, man, it's dope. I'm extremely proud of you being in New Jersey and being from Irvington specifically. It's incredible what you've been able to achieve in your life and your career, man. So I'm thankful that you're here today. I mean that.
I appreciate that, man. I could hit some stuff like the 94 bus. I can talk all kinds of stuff.
I was going to ask, was you taking the 25 downtown Newark? How was you getting to St. Benedict's, man?
I always took the 94 bus, man. I had to get to school, and yeah, man, Irvington was home, still is home. I always like driving by whenever I come back to Jersey and seeing all my family and my friends. So
let's start out talking about how you began in the water. Your first swim club was based in West Orange before you transferred to a swim club out in Cranford, New Jersey. My home swim team was the Orange Stingrays out the YWCA right there in Orange. Now, The thing that I used to love about being on the Orange Stingrays is it was right around the corner from White Castle. So after practice, that's where my grandmother used to take me. I'm sure your recovery meal is different now, but back when you were a youth, what was your favorite post-recovery swim meal, man?
Okay, so the first team I was on was the Newark swim team. So I was downtown Rutgers. So I was down there, and there was a little bodega spot that I used to get the Italian hot dog. And for all those that don't, that's the hot dog with fries on top, loaded with ketchup, and it comes in a bag. You got to eat it out the bag, though.
You're making me miss home.
I don't know nothing about this.
Yeah, we know. Y'all was eating chitlins and hog maws and cornbread.
We do not. Okay, some people in my family do eat chitlins, but I do not eat chitlins.
I get it. You don't want to stink up the house. I get it.
And I'm like, you got to really clean chitlins. And I don't know if everybody would know how to clean it. It's disgusting. Honestly, thinking about it. I want to kind of get a little bit serious, though, with you, Cullen. You were able to break a lot of barriers in your career. What was that like for you in the moment?
You know, in the moment, and I've heard this from a lot of different athletes, we're so focused on the result that sometimes we forget the journey. And so being able to have conversations like this, it just helps me relive it. And so I was so focused on trying to win gold for USA that I wasn't thinking about what that was doing back at home. You know, we're in a bit of a bubble when you're in the Olympic Games and you're in the village. So I had no idea. Like I was in China and everyone kept walking by calling me Kobe Bryant. I'm like, no, wrong sport. So it was a lot of like, yeah, take that as you may. So he ain't had a throw at the time. His head was low like mine. So it was, we had the mix up quite often. So when I got the gold medal and I came home, my first stop was actually New York. And somebody walked up to me and was like, hey, man, can we get your autograph? And I was so used to being called for the last 2 weeks Kobe Bryant. My first thought was track. And I was like, no, I'm not track. And they were like, no, you're Cullen Jones. You're the world record holder, the swimmer. And I'm like, oh. And so right after that, my life completely changed. But it was something that I realized at that moment that I was now in the same breath as, and I was being called in the same breath as Arthur Ashe, as Tiger Woods, as Venus and Serena. And I still to this day take that. I find it so humbling and an honor to be a role model. But it didn't start that way because I nearly drowned at Dorney Park. So that's how it started.
Yeah. And shortly thereafter, your parents enrolled you in swimming lessons. I know it's a long time ago, but can you recall whether or not you were full of fear when you first started those early swim lessons?
So it's funny you brought up the Y where you were swimming. That's where I started swimming because my parents said, nah, we're after Dorney Park and big thanks to everyone at Dorney Park because they saved my life. I had to be resuscitated. If it wasn't for that lifeguard knowing what to do at that moment, I wouldn't be here, and I would be one of the statistics that we're talking about today. So my parents said, nope, we're going to get you into swim lessons. But it took me 5 different teachers before I started feeling comfortable in the water. And I empathize and sympathize with any person that's had a negative experience because I get it. I understand what that feels like. And again, 5 different teachers. So for any person that's like, oh, I'm done, I can't learn how to swim. No. You just have to keep with it. Trust me, you will learn to swim. You just have to stay with it.
Man, I'm really happy you were at Dorney Park and not Action Park. Because I don't know if you would have survived Action Park, bro. I don't know.
What's Action Park?
Oh my God, Samaria, it's a death trap. They have a documentary on Netflix. It's called Class Action Park. And it really literally there was so many deaths at Action Park, and it's like a water park, and there'd be this big wave pool, but you would just get I almost drowned at Action Park. It was crazy, fam.
As a swimmer, you would almost drown at Action Park. And like you would go by near, and I don't want to call them out, but you would hear screws falling off of roller coasters. Like it was wild. Like I don't know how that place was able to stay open as long as they did.
I'm glad that y'all are still with us.
Yeah, really
no, seriously.
Happy Dorney Park.
Yeah, because when you survive Irvington and then you pass away at Action Park, you'd be pissed. You're
Oh my God. All right, Cullen, well, speaking of those statistics, like you just mentioned, 64% of Black children have little to no swimming ability. Many communities of color lack affordable and safe pool access. We know the statistics, but what do we need to do to change that?
Well, when we start looking back, especially for the Black and brown community and Black Americans especially, we've been told since slavery that this is something we don't do. I mean, I can go to a barbecue this weekend and everyone be like, oh, how that swimming going? We don't do that. We're still saying the same narrative. But the number one thing that we know that is the issue is access. For a lot of people, finding pools is a hard thing. Like, when Rodney and I were growing up, we didn't have websites to be able to look for different places. So right after that gold medal, I started working with diversity in aquatics and loved everything about it so much that I became a board member. But we have a website now, and it geo-targets exactly where you are to find a place. So we're trying to really address the access piece. So that's diversityaquatics.org/find a pool. Make it easy. Try to get people to understand that this is not just a great sport, it's a life skill. And we need to make sure that we are teaching our kids to swim because it's an epidemic. The CDC has now listed it as an epidemic. 64% of Black Americans don't know how to swim. 54% of Latino Americans don't know how to swim. And 38% of Caucasians don't know how to swim. That's a U.S. problem. So we're really trying to combat the access by making it easier.
Interesting that you mentioned that. And especially talking about the parent-child relationship, because I'm a father and I hear a lot of parents talk about what sports they sign their children up for and why. And I think with aquatics, parents do not know how aquatic athletes actually make their money. It's why so many parents sign their kids up for baseball, soccer, basketball, because there's a lucrative contract potentially waiting for them at the end of the road. So for an aquatic athlete, how do you guys make a majority of your money?
So it's funny you say that because my current job since I've been retired is I work at Speedo signing the new athletes. So making it full circle, we're trying to go keep those on the US of A. So it's the same thing for every sport. It's so funny that you say that because my first contract was with Nike and everyone's like, well, how do you get paid? I was like, well, how does LeBron get paid? It's the same thing. We have triggers of like when you swim fast, you get a gold medal, then you get paid extra for that. And you have a base salary. And it's funny to say that I need to look into this, but I would say probably 90% of all the Olympic sports, now that it's no longer amateur, are set up the same way. So that's gymnastics, that's track, that's figure skating, that's winter too. I mean, you are still getting a contract that you're able to get bonuses for when you perform well. Not to mention the U.S. gets to, we are one of the only countries, one of 3 countries that don't pay our athletes. So when you have groups like Nike, when you have groups like Speedo that come in, it's very important to try to keep these athletes in their sports. It helps to have that backing by these brands.
Real quick, it's important for me to note because I always heard this rumor. Do you get taxed on the medals that you win in the Olympics?
We do. You get taxed not on the actual medal, you get taxed on the placement of the money that you get for making that. So when D Wade brought it up, it was right, because in 2008 we all had the same conversation. If you watch Redeem Team, we were all sitting. They came to see swimming, and I was sitting next to Kobe and next to D Wade, and that's when they first started talking about it. And I was like, "Wait, what?" And D was very vocal. He's like, "How are we going to?" And I'm like, "Yeah, so we do get taxed."
I hate
Yes.
that. I kind of want to piggyback off of paying because I just read an article that unfortunately collegiate swimmers and divers are at the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to NIL. Why
Right.
do you think that is, and how much of an impact do you feel like it would have on the sport as a whole if these brands and universities saw swimming as more marketable?
Well, the problem is that we're extremely marketable only every 4 years when the Olympics happens. And so I think that's one of the big things. When you have football coming on every Sunday, when you have basketball games every other night, it's just consistency. And so USA Swimming has been trying to do a good job of trying to get more of these meets out. And it's interesting to say that people pay attention. They're watching it. And so we want to see more of that happen, but you're hitting it right on the head when it comes to NIL. Um, Charles Chuck said it best. He's like, this is going to have some long-term effects when it comes to those non-revenue generating sports like football and basketball. They'll be fine. You have certain schools that have great volleyball teams. They'll be fine because they're getting the viewership. But when you have something like swimming, it is, and we're starting to see what happens. More programs are being cut. Florida's having a massive cut right now. I think what's going to happen is you're going to start seeing people move down to D2 and D3, and then the funding is going to have to shift. But NIL is, without the proper guidance, has had some negative effects for sure.
So now, how are you in your new role finding new athletes?
Man, so we have to really cultivate those relationships early. And so you see that in football, you see that in basketball, you see coaches that go to see the parents. Now I'm speaking to parents, which is something that's not something that I'm foreign to, which is still great. But it's interesting because when you speak to agents get it. They understand the game. They understand like the value of certain, athletes and their performances, and they're educated on this. When you're talking to parents, they believe that the day begins and sets with their child. So it becomes pretty interesting when it comes to dollar figures and understanding, the actual value. So there's a lot of education that still needs to be there. And I've been hearing from other people that are agents and agents for brands that there's a lot of education that still needs to happen.
Are you mining social media though? Like, are you finding athletes who maybe have a large following, who are doing tricks in the water, social influencers as well?
You know what's funny? I think with there's two things that I say that with NIL, every athlete needs to at least brush up on. One, finance, because you're making money now earlier, and you need to make sure that you understand how you're spending that money. Two, it's marketing. You have to understand that you are a brand. You could be 14 years old, and some swimmers are, and they're going to the Olympics. And they are a brand, and they have to learn that they are a brand and conduct themselves as a brand and watch what you post because brands are watching. And so there are certain things that, again, that education just needs to be had. And so I find myself having a lot of those education lessons with the parents, but also with the athletes directly now.
And we are gearing up for the LA Olympics. Tell us who you're excited to see in 3 years.
From a swimming perspective, the world has gotten a lot faster. So Leon Marchand, who trained with Michael Phelps' coach, still trains with him. He is a dominant force. Love watching him. Great guy on top of that. Summer McIntosh coming from Canada is a really great one. But from the U.S. perspective, we have some really big stars. You still have Caleb Dressel in the mix. You have Reagan Smith in the mix. So there's a lot of great athletes. When it comes to other sports, flag football is going to be something that people are going to be paying attention to. So I'm interested in seeing who actually jumps on deck for that, because when you start thinking about basketball, it's quite an honor for a lot of the basketball players, even from the NBA, to come to the Olympics because they value that gold medal. So I really hope a lot of our football stars that come into the Olympic movement for flag football, if they are able to do that and want to do that, they have the same regard for that gold medal, and I think they will. So I'm excited for flag football. I'm sad that breakdance is gone. I still wanted to see the dance.
Nah, man. That was some bullshit, man. That was some bull. Did you see
No
that woman?
qualifications.
Listen,
Yo, man.
Canada's got style. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I know Toronto well, but I wanted us to do something in the U.S. and I wanted us to have another shot. You know, maybe
Nah,
we need to be
man.
more original. I guess. I don't know. I don't know.
I was hella good on the breakdancing, bro. Like, absolutely not. And you know what's crazy? As dominant as we are in basketball, you know, in our 3-on-3 Olympic team, they didn't even place, bro. Like, that team is terrible. So we don't have pros playing in our profession, like a real pros playing in our professional 3-on-3 basketball league. And I'm just the ladies didn't even place that well. So I don't know, man. We'll see what happens with the flag football. I don't really see any of our stars getting out there. Couple more questions before we hit the road, man. So as we get older, which is what, you know, Lord willing, we do, you start trying to figure out other sports to play where you can continue to compete, you know, have that competitive advantage. Myself, I've taken up tennis, but I've played 18 holes on a golf course, and there's like a cultural adjustment that I had to make in order to be a participant in these worlds and in these sports.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very unfamiliar with, at the professional level, what the culture of swimming is. So can you tell us how diverse and inclusive the swimming community is?
That's an amazing question. And that's really why I was so drawn to diversity in aquatics, because diversity in aquatics is about all things aquatic. We're talking synchronized swimming. We're talking water polo. We're talking scuba, skiing, surfing. We're talking all of it. So for me, I would say it's extremely inclusive from the standpoint of come in. Like we already said, we're breaking down the access piece. But for a lot of people to even be in the aquatic space, you have to come over the barrier of learning to swim first. Please stop getting on a boat and not know how to swim and just think that a PFD, personal flotation device, is going to be everything for you.
Now, Cullen, you know black people is not stopping getting on boats.
Come on now. Rodney, you'd be shocked. We will be at a all-white party with a pool and stare at it. But if there's a boat,
we on the boat.
We love getting on the boat.
We on the boat.
Get on the boat. Like, oh, this was real good with my all-white suit. No, come on.
In the middle of the ocean, too.
Come on, man. Like, we trying to save each other here. And the first step is learning to swim. Go to your white party. You'll see me there. But I know how to swim. Come on, learn how to swim first. The orange PFD and the white, it clashes. So let's stay fresh, keep the fit right, and just learn to swim, ladies. And here's the other thing. University of UNLV did a study. Number one thing we see is fear, right? So we understand that. We've been told over and over and over again, this is something we don't do. We believe it. Let's start changing that. Number two is parental backing. Parents, guardians, when it comes to your kids, if you don't teach them to swim, there's a 13% chance that child will learn how to swim. That's a problem. Number three, physical appearance. Guys wearing small suits. Look, I work for Speedo. We make more than briefs, okay? Go get yourself something else. And ladies, okay, here's where I get in trouble. I know I don't have it anymore. Ladies in hair, my mom is black. I get it. Take one summer. Put your hair in braids. Learn to swim. Save your life. It only takes one. When you learn, you never forget. It's like riding a bike. So is it worth your life for your hair? When it only takes one summer, put it in braids. Learn to swim, and then look fresh to death for the rest of your life. You good?
Yeah.
You see the layers of Samaria hair? She ain't messing that up. Look at that.
Hey, first of all, let's be clear. Hold on. Because my dad taught me how to swim as a kid. I'm a really good swimmer because he taught me how to swim, me and my brother. And I would say that I didn't swim further than like elementary school because of my hair. I will say that. I wanted to swim like competitively, but I didn't because of my hair. But I do know how to swim.
And I understand that. And that's why the conversation is not to make the next Simone Manual. If that is your role, I love it. Go for it. Do it. I'll be here waiting for you at the finish line to give you that high five. Welcome to the club. But all I want us to do is stop drowning. I need us to stop dying unnecessarily because we don't prioritize in our development, unlike your family, which is, I love to hear that they taught you early. We don't prioritize. It's an amazing sport. It is, but it's also a life skill. So please just take a summer, learn to swim. It's like riding a bike you'll never forget.
Yeah. I coached high school basketball at Columbia High School, and I actually had a player drown. RIP to Armani, man. Just like a very strong athlete, you know, on the basketball court, he was very elite. But all of those intangibles that are so well received in other sports, when you get in that water, they're out the window. You really have to learn how to swim. You have to be so intentional about knowing the water.
Oh yeah.
Well, Cullen, thank you so much for coming on with us. You all go check out diversityinequatics.org to talk about or learn about everything that we just talked about today. And thank you again. We learned a lot.
Thank you.
I learned a lot about Jersey. I got to go get this Italian hot dog or whatever y'all call it.
Woo! You can get an Italian anything, an Italian cheeseburger, Italian chicken sandwich. Just
what makes it Italian?
The fries, the peppers, and ketchup. It'll change your life.
So good.